The sound of clippers echoed through the narrow bathroom. Cold light flickered above the cracked mirror as strands of hair fell like whispers of dignity lost. A woman, thin, trembling, her eyes swollen from days of crying, sat on a wooden stool while a cruel laugh came from behind her. "You thought you were better than us," her ex-husband sneered. "Now let's see how proud you are when everyone sees you like this." When he was done, he grabbed their 2 children, ages barely 7 and 9, and ran the same buzzing machine over their heads as they screamed and begged. By the time he was finished, 3 shaved heads glistened under the pale bulb, and a family's last shred of pride was gone. If you believe no one deserves to be humiliated for being poor, and that kindness still has the power to change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Because what happened next will restore your faith in humanity. That woman's name was Aria Holt, a 33-year-old mother who once worked as a florist in a small Arizona town. She had always been gentle, always smiling, even when life gave her every reason not to. But when her husband, Dean, lost his temper one too many times and was finally jailed for domestic abuse, Aria and her kids, Ellie and Mason, were left with nothing but a few bags of clothes, a rusted car, and a tiny motel room that reeked of mold and despair. The neighbors whispered, the landlord complained, and the world seemed to shrink around her. She tried to find work, but no one wanted to hire a woman with 2 kids and a nervous stutter every time a man raised his voice. Then came that night, when Dean, newly released and drunk with anger, found them again. He broke in, shouting about betrayal and shame, accusing her of ruining his life. The kids hid in the corner, clutching each other as he forced them into the bathroom and shaved their heads, one by one. He left them there, bare, humiliated, and sobbing. The next morning, Aria packed what little she could and drove off with her children, not knowing where they were headed. She only knew one thing: she couldn't go back. The Arizona sun was merciless that day. The road stretched endlessly, a ribbon of heat shimmering across the desert. Her car sputtered, coughed, and finally died near a dusty roadside diner that looked like it hadn't seen a customer in years. Aria sat behind the wheel, defeated, her hands shaking as her children cried quietly in the back seat. They hadn't eaten properly in 2 days. She walked into the diner hoping to use the restroom sink to wash their faces. The woman behind the counter gave her a long, judgmental look and whispered something to the cook. People stared. It wasn't just the shaved heads, it was the poverty written across their clothes, the smell of exhaustion that followed them. Aria felt their pity like knives. She was about to leave when the sound of deep engines rolled through the air, 20 motorcycles cutting through the sunlight, chrome glinting, thunder echoing across the open road. They stopped outside the diner, engines idling, and the atmosphere changed instantly. The door swung open and in walked a tall man with weathered skin, gray beard, and eyes that had seen too much. His black leather vest bore a patch that made everyone tense. Hell's Angels, Arizona chapter. The man looked around, scanning the diner until his eyes landed on Aria. She froze, clutching her kids close, unsure whether to run or stay. But he didn't speak. He just stood there, staring at the 3 shaved heads. Then his jaw tightened, and he turned to the waitress. "Who did that to them?" he asked quietly. The waitress hesitated. I don't know. They just came in." The man stepped closer, his boots echoing against the tile. "You got a name?" Aria's voice broke as she whispered, "Aria Holt." He nodded slowly, eyes softening. "Name's Ryder Cross." He gestured to the other bikers outside. "We don't like seeing people hurt, especially kids." She didn't know what to say. Ryder studied her for a long moment, then turned toward the door. "You're coming with me," he said finally. Aria blinked in confusion. Where?" He looked back at her with a faint, steady smile. "Somewhere safe." That day changed everything. The Hells Angels led her car, towed behind one of their trucks, to a biker compound tucked in the hills outside Prescott Valley. It was nothing like the stereotypes people imagined. There were rough men, yes, tattooed, loud, scarred, but there was also laughter, dogs running between bikes, and the smell of barbecue drifting through the air. The members greeted her with quiet respect, some nodding, others smiling at her kids. Ryder's wife, Marla, came out with open arms. She was strong and kind, her hair streaked with silver. "Oh, sweetheart," she said softly, pulling Aria close. "You're safe now. You and the little ones both." For the first time in months, Aria cried, not from pain, but from relief. They gave them a small cabin at the back of the property, stocked with food, clean clothes, and blankets. Ryder's crew fixed her broken car, replaced the tires, and filled the tank. Marla found wigs for the kids, even small hats they could wear until their hair grew back. Over the next few weeks, something inside Arya began to heal. The bikers never asked for anything in return. They simply helped. They taught Mason how to ride a small dirt bike, and Ellie spent afternoons drawing chalk hearts on the pavement near the garage. Arya helped cook, cleaned up, and even started arranging wildflowers into jars, something she hadn't done since her days at the flower shop, but deep down, she still felt unworthy. One night, she sat by the campfire after everyone had gone to bed, staring into the flames. Ryder walked over and sat beside her, handing her a cup of coffee. "You're quiet tonight," he said. Arya shrugged. I don't understand why you helped us. People like you, people like me, we don't usually cross paths." Ryder chuckled softly. "Maybe that's the problem with this world. Everyone thinks kindness belongs to certain kinds of people." He looked at the fire. "I've seen good men do bad things, and bad men do good ones. All that matters is what you do when someone's down. That's what defines you." Arya nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you for everything." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't thank me yet. Tomorrow, we're taking a ride." The next morning, the sun spilled gold across the desert. 20 bikes lined up at the edge of the compound, engines rumbling like thunder. Ryder handed Arya a helmet and smiled. "You said you wanted to start over. Let's start today." They rode for miles, through dusty roads, past cactus fields and open sky. When they finally stopped, they stood before a small roadside flower shop with a faded for sale sign. Arya froze. It was the same kind of shop she once dreamed of owning. Ryder turned to her and said, "The boys pooled together some cash. The owner's moving out next week. You'll run it. Fresh start." Arya covered her mouth, overwhelmed. "Ryder, I can't accept that." He smiled. "You already have. You just don't believe it yet." The first day the shop opened, the sign above the door read "Second Bloom," painted by Ellie and Mason in bright colors. The Hells Angels all showed up, roaring their bikes into the parking lot, handing out flowers to passing strangers. The local news came, curious about the story, and when Arya was asked how it all began, she said with quiet strength, "Kindness doesn't wear a suit or drive a fancy car. Sometimes, it wears leather and rides a Harley." Months later, her business grew. The kids laughed again. Their hair had grown back, and so had her hope. She no longer flinched when she heard engines. She smiled, knowing it meant family point one evening. As the sun sank behind the desert hills, Arya placed a bouquet of wildflowers in a vase at her counter and whispered, "Thank you, Ryder." He had passed away weeks earlier from a heart attack, but his words remained etched in her heart. What you do when someone's down, that's what defines you. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Let's fill the world with stories that remind us compassion still exists, even in the most unexpected places. And before you scroll away, please comment below with one thing. Speech balloon: do you still believe kindness can save someone's life? Because somewhere out there, a woman like Arya is still waiting for someone to say, "You're coming with me."